Hey guys, we are going to be exploring addition of fractions with unlike denominators. We're going to be able to use fraction circle pieces to generate equivalent fractions, to add fractions, and we're also going to be able to use equivalent fractions as a strategy to add and subtract fractions. Let's take a look at these three questions for a warm-up. The first one here, we're going to be looking at 1/4 plus 2/4 or 1/2. So we actually are dividing these right here. Okay, so we're comparing 1/4 plus 2/4 or 1/2. Hopefully you said 1/4 plus 2/4 was larger because we know that 2/4 and 1/2 are equivalent. And then if we were to add 1/4, that would make this side larger. The next one, 2/8 plus 1/8 or 1/2. Hopefully you said 1/2 because we know that 2 plus 1 is 3. So this side would be 3/8. And we know that 3/8 is less than a half because 4/8 equals 1/2. And finally our last one, 1/3 plus 1/3 or 1/2. Hopefully you said 1/3 plus 1/3 because that is 2/3. And we know 2/3 is greater than 1/2. We will move on to our vocab review here. The only phrase that we have is equivalent fractions, and we know that that is fractions that name the same number. An example would be 1/2 and 4/8. Our math message today says to use your fraction circle pieces, so you know that you need to go to the Everyday Math website in order to access those. Remember, the red circle is equal to 1 whole. What I want you to do is to place a 1/4 piece next to a 1/8 piece. What would 1/4 plus 1/8 equal? You can talk with someone at home or talk with a partner about how you would use these fraction circle pieces to find that sum. If the red circle is, if the red circle is the whole, what piece represents that 1/4? I want you to think about what fraction piece equals 1/4. And which one represents the 1/8? Think about what colors when you're looking at that Everyday Math website e-tool. So if you need to pause now to get to that, go ahead and do so. So right here you see we have representing 1/4 plus 1/8. This is what your e-toolkit should look similar to. First thing I want you to think of a strategy would be to cover the yellow piece with 2 dark blue pieces. So you can see that picture up there, that a yellow piece could fit 2 dark. This shows that 1/4 is the same as 2/8. So 1/4 plus 1/8 would be the same as 2/8 plus 1/8 or 3/8 in all. I also would like you to think about putting a dark blue piece next to the representation of the sum. So see that picture again. The total is 1/2, or 1/4 plus 1/8 is 1/8 away from 1/2. So 4/8 is the same as 1/2. So the sum must be 1/8 less than that, or 3/8. So what you can do is you can simply just count the pieces to find the total. 1/8, 2/8, and 3/8. So you can see that here. We can see that, let me use the yellow here too. Right here would have been the 1/4 piece. Okay, so we can see that 1/4 is equal to those 2/8 pieces. And so we see 1, 2, 3/8 all together for that. So why can't you figure out what fraction this represents by just counting the pieces? Like, why can't we just go 1, 2, 3? There's no fraction name for a 4th and an 8th, right? because individual fractions always represent a number of that same size piece. It was necessary when we were doing that math message to think about how many same size 8 pieces would be that. So we had to create an equivalent fraction of 1/4 and and turn that into a common denominator. We had to find a common denominator. So that's what we're going to be doing today. In today's lesson, we're going to solve more fraction addition problems by thinking about same size pieces. So you can use fraction circle pieces, and or you can draw pictures. For this one, it says to use fraction circle pieces to solve 1/2 plus 1/4. I want you to think about how and what to use to find the sum, again, using same size pieces. So I want you to think about these two questions while you're at home. Thinking about how would you share how you completed the strategy? What did you do first? What was your very first step? And what pieces did you use? Why did you choose to use those? When you covered the pink piece with 2 yellow pieces, you're changing the fraction from 1/2 to the 2/4 equivalent fraction. 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4. This can give both fractions in the problem the same denominator. Hopefully that's what you did. So take a look at these two problems here. I want you to try that same thing again. Solve the problems using fraction circle pieces to make the equivalent fractions so both fractions represent the same size piece. Here we can also make an estimate and then use the fraction circle pieces. So we can see that we have 1/2 and then 1/3. Remember in previous lessons where we used the benchmark, so 0, 1/2, 1, 1.5, and so on. Do that. Use that as a first step, making an estimate and then checking your work with the fraction circle pieces. So here's a possible strategy. You can cover both the 1/2 piece and the 1/3 piece with 1/6 pieces. That then changed 1/2 to 3/6 because we know that 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2. And then it changed 1/3 to 2/6. We know that those two fractions are equivalent. So then we can add 3/6 and 2/6, and you get 5/6. And you can take a look here. That's what we did. So on this half side right here, we see 3/6, and then that 1/3 changed to 2/6, and then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/6. So does our answer of 5/6 seem reasonable? You can use estimates to check the reasonableness of the answer you get using fraction circle pieces to make sure that you use the pieces correctly. We know we're going to start at 1/2 and we're going to move just slightly past. We're not quite getting to 1 whole. And 5/6 we know is past that 1/2 mark, but not quite to a whole. Open up your math journal to page 95. Go ahead and pause your video if you need to. On page 95, we're going to see some problems of doing the exact same work that we've been doing. It says to make an estimate, then use your fraction circle pieces to find the sum. Use the red circle as the whole. Remember to think about using same size pieces. So I really would like you to continue using that everyday math website e-tool and practice moving those fraction circle pieces around to help you in your understanding of how these equivalent fractions are created and how they are used to add. Take a look at the example before you begin. They have 1/2 plus 1/8. They did an estimate that the answer would be between 1/2 and 1. So remember, your estimates with fractions can be like that. It can tell you, okay, which two benchmarks are we going to be between? So then they asked us to show 1/2 plus 1/8 with fraction pieces. So we have that right here, 1/2 in the pink and 1/8 in that dark blue. Cover the 1/2 piece with 4 1/8 pieces. They did that right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have that 1/8 piece next to it. So we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, plus one more is 5, giving us 5/8. And then we created a number sentence of 4/8 plus 1/8 equals 5/8. So your turn now. Using the practice that we did, using those fraction circle pieces, I want you to solve number 1 and 2. 2/3 plus 1/6 equals what? Do an estimate, create a sum, create a number sentence using those fraction circle pieces. Number 2 is 2/5 plus 3/10. Same work. Pause your video now, complete that, and come back and check. Okay, so you can see that for number 1, our estimate is a little less than 1. The sum, the answer that they got was 5/6. The number sentence they used was 4/6 plus 1/6 equals 5/6. And number 2, the estimate was between 1/2 and 1. The sum was 7/10. And the number sentence was 4/10 plus 3/10 equals 7/10. We have 4 more problems for you to practice with. So we have 1/3 plus 1/12, 2/6 plus 1/4, 2/3 plus 1/4, and 1/2 plus 1/5. Okay, here we have number 3 should be about 1/2. The answer was 5/12. And they did 4/12 plus 1/12 equals 5/12. Number 4, they estimated a little bit more than a half. They got 7/12, which we know that is a little bit more than a half because 6/12 would be a half. 4/12 plus 3/12 was equaling 7/12. And then number 5, they said close to 1. The sum was 7/12 or 11/12, sorry. And that was 8/12 plus 3/12 equals 11/12. I saved number 6 because I want to demonstrate this one on the Everyday Math website using the fraction circle pieces. So we will go to the Perry Township resource. Remember, you'll click on McGraw-Hill. Hopefully you remembered how to do this, and this is just a refresher for you. You can click on menu. Oops. You can click on this, and you should be able to get to your eToolkit. And remember fraction circles, okay? All right, so we have 1/2 plus 1/5. So I actually want just the pieces. So let's get rid of that. I have 1/2. And then we want the 1/5. So I know it's 1/3, 1/4. This should be 1/5. So if we combine those together, we should see that. So what I could do is, let's just make sure that the dark green is 1/5. We can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we see that we've created a 1/2 plus 1/5. And I can see what else fits in here. This is a 1/3 fraction circle piece. And so we can kind of see that it's a little larger than what can fit in there, right? It goes over that 1/5. So what I need to do is come up with, well, what could we create? Okay, so let's think about the different fraction circles. What do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are 12ths. And the purple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's use this dark purple here. I can fit a dark purple. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I can fit 2 dark purples. Is that not? There we go. I can fit 2 dark purples to represent 1/5. Okay. And then I could think, okay, how many dark purple would represent a half. So what I'm going to see here is 2/10 is going to equal 1/5. Now, if I'm wanting to use those same purple fraction pieces, I want to ask myself, well, what would be half of that? I know that 5 is half of 10. So in order to get this same shape, I should be using 2/10 plus 5/10, and that's going to give me 7/10. So let's try that on our own here using these purples. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that should represent the half. So if I do put these 1, 2, 3, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we see that that is a half. And then if we add 2 more up here, and we can move them right there, you'll see that we have the same shape. So it took 7/10 to equal our 1/2 plus 1/5. So if we go back to our work here, let's check our answer. Okay, the estimate was somewhere between 1/2 and 1. The sum was 7/10. They did 5/10 plus 2/10 equals 7/10. Is that what we did? Sure is. Okay. And then page 96 and 97 is just some more practice of, this would be good for you to do, revisiting those powers of 10. Good practice for that. But that is not part of our objective today, but I would suggest going through and practicing doing some of those problems. Again, our focus today was exploring the addition of fractions with unlike denominators. We use those fraction circle pieces.